"I'm sorry, sir, but you'll need to move to economy." The flight attendant's voice was cold, indifferent. To her, he wasn't someone's grandfather, just another overbooked passenger. The elderly man blinked, confused. He was already seated in business class, seatbelt fastened, hands folded on his lap. His suit was wrinkled, tie askew, but he sat with dignified posture. Around him, passengers avoided eye contact. "But I was assigned this seat," he said gently, holding up his boarding pass with trembling fingers. "There's been a reassignment," she replied curtly. "Someone else paid full fare. I need you to come with me now." There was no apology, no courtesy, just a cold directive. The man unbuckled and slowly stood up. As he picked up a worn leather bag, passengers whispered. Someone muttered, "Guess you gotta pay to stay." Another chuckled. The old man didn't respond. He quietly shuffled toward the back, shoulders squared despite the quiet humiliation. 5 rows behind him, a teenager nudged his mother. "Mom, isn't that the guy from the ceremony? The one on TV?" She nodded, her eyes widening. Others were beginning to notice too. The silence in the cabin was growing heavy, not just with discomfort, but recognition. 2 rows over, a businessman lowered his paper. In economy, an Army veteran narrowed his eyes, sitting up straighter. This wasn't just any man. His name was Charles Everett, Air Force Colonel, Vietnam survivor, recipient of the Distinguished Flying Cross. Just last month, the Department of Defense honored him for 50 years of humanitarian missions. He had saved hundreds of lives, flying through storms and under fire, not in suits but in cockpits. And now this man was being sent to the back like luggage. The disbelief spread like a quiet ripple through the cabin. He kept walking, unaware that fate was about to rewrite the moment. Just as Charles neared economy, the cockpit door opened. Out stepped the pilot, tall, clean-cut, silver wings on his chest, fire in his eyes. He scanned the cabin until his gaze fixed on the elderly man. Then came a voice, sharp and commanding. "Is there a reason Colonel Charles Everett is not in his assigned seat?" Everyone turned. The flight attendant froze. "Captain, there was a ticketing issue. We had to—" "Stop!" The pilot cut her off, stepping into the aisle with quiet authority. He walked straight to Charles, standing before him with respect. "Sir, I'm Captain Rhee Wallace. You flew with my father in 71 over Laos. He said the only reason he made it back was because of you." Charles blinked, stunned. "David Wallace? Your father?" The pilot nodded. "Yes, sir. You carried him out when his bird went down. He always told me if I ever met you, I was to stand at attention and shake your hand. And so he did." Captain Wallace saluted, then offered his hand, his voice cracking with emotion. The cabin burst into applause. The pilot turned to the flight attendant. "Find the person who took this seat. Move them to mine. I'll fly from the jump seat if I have to. Colonel Everett sits here." Charles tried to protest. "Son, that's not necessary." But the pilot smiled. "With all due respect, sir, it absolutely is." The stunned flight attendant apologized. The business class passenger who had taken the seat now stood without resistance, eyes wide with realization. Colonel Everett was escorted back, not by staff, but by the pilot himself. It was no longer a reassignment, it was an escort of honor. As Charles sat down again, the cabin erupted. Passengers stood. Some applauded. Some cried. A man in a suit leaned over and whispered, "Thank you for your service, you sir." A woman across the aisle offered her hand. "You deserve more than this seat. You deserve a statue." But Charles only smiled humbly. "I was just doing my job," he said. Captain Wallace returned to the cockpit, but just before closing the door, he turned one more time and gave a final crisp salute. The cabin quieted again, but the silence now was reverent. When the plane landed hours later, no one rushed to stand. Instead, passengers waited as Charles slowly rose. Many asked to take photos, not for fame, but to capture a rare moment of true honor. They had witnessed a moment that made them pause, reflect. Justice had been served, not through confrontation, but through recognition. Colonel Charles Everett didn't ask for attention. He never needed it. But that day in that cabin, the sky gave him something rare. Dignity restored, not with medals or headlines, but through silent, sincere gratitude. Before we end this story, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. If this moment moved you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and drop a karma in the comments below. Because sometimes the most powerful stories happen in silence, interrupted only by the sound of respect being rediscovered.